Hello, I'm Matt. Hello, I'm Matt. Welcome to Surround Silence. It's been a bit of a busy week. I said I was going to put another video up this week, but it was my birthday, so I took the time off and decided not to put the video out this week, or on Sunday, and when I'd enjoyed my birthday. Today I said that I would tell you a bit more about my experiences being deaf and what's actually going on. I got 5 minutes at the moment, so I'm sleeving some cards. I've got a nice blood red dragon shield here, so I'll go into that a bit while I'm doing this. So I became deaf suddenly overnight. When I became deaf, there was possibility that maybe I had been going deaf for longer, but based on how things went, it was kind of an overnight thing for me. I had a year prior to that had a hearing test booked with Specsavers because I just felt my hearing wasn't quite up to scratch, and I wanted to get it checked. But the change that took place the day I noticed I'd become deaf literally happened overnight. So at the start of the whole thing, I'd had 3 weeks to a month of quite severe headaches. I mean, really painful headaches. Some so bad in some cases that I couldn't get up in a day, and they were bad headaches. It was hot at the time. I put it down to dehydration, maybe. I suffered migraines when I was younger, and then once I got my glasses, those sort of headaches went away. And I do have a bad neck injury, back and spine injury from about 5-6 years ago, which does cause headaches. A bit of tension and a bit of pressure, and then it causes headaches. But as I experienced it, I could hear one day and then woke up the next, and there was nothing. Everything was silent. I didn't really notice the silence at first. I was very ill for one day. Headaches that were causing vomiting, nausea. I thought I'd come down with something, so I didn't think. I stayed in bed all day. Nobody bothered me. I didn't notice that I couldn't hear. So there's a possibility that I lost my hearing a few days sooner than I thought I did. But as it goes, I lost it overnight. Based on that, I figured, I'm on a couple of medications, some antidepressants at the time. So I did some reading, some Googling, and I read about ototoxicity, which is where medication builds up in your body and can poison the inner workings of the ear. By doing that, you temporarily poison the ear, and it stops working, but your hearing comes back. So I stopped my medication, didn't take any more, and I got a nice file here. I stopped taking the medication thinking it'll come back tomorrow, day after. If I remember right, the hearing loss went on a Friday, and I made a doctor's appointment on the Wednesday after, when I realised that it was Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday. When I realised nothing was working, and I'll be honest, the GP saw me immediately. He asked me to come down within an hour of making the appointment. Went down, described what happened to him, I don't think I was particularly. I don't think I told him everything that had happened at the time, in terms of the headaches and the illness before, because it just didn't really cross my mind to do that at the time. It seemed like something that was completely separate at the time. You know, my biggest problem was the deafness. Really, I suddenly lost my hearing. It wasn't going through my head that possibly I'd been ill, and the GP was quite concerned in terms of things like meningitis, that sort of thing. But from my perspective, if I'd had meningitis, I would have known I'd be very ill in doing that. So we, of course I want to keep that in. He put me on a course of very strong antibiotics. I don't remember which one it was, but it was a very high dose of antibiotics. That's what the guidelines from NICE say, are the high dose antibiotics for a week. If there's no improvement, you should ideally keep that going, and if the hopefully your hearing comes back. As it stands, my hearing didn't return, but I had a hearing test booked, and I was supposed to see an ENT doctor the next day. So I got given the not antibiotics, steroids. I got given the steroids, had a hearing test and a what should have been an ENT appointment the next day, and was sent on my way. And I'll be honest, the GP that saw me was very good. He wrote things down for me. I mean, I had zero lip reading ability at the time. Knew no sign. I don't think the GP knew any sign either. But he did his job. He did what he needed to do, and he got me sorted out. So the next day I turned up for a hearing test. It's very, very confusing to have a hearing test when you've just gone deaf, because you're used to hearing things, and I don't think the test was very well explained to me. I was told to so you wear headphones similar to this. I think they're noise cancelling headphones, and they give you a little stick with a button on it, and they ask you to press the button when you hear a sound. Now, I personally took that as press the button when you think you should hear a sound, and at the time I had a lot of noises running through my head, thinking I was hearing things. In the night I'd think that I'd hear people walking about the house and there was nobody. So I took that test. It came back inconclusive. It showed very severe hearing loss, at least at the time. And once I'd left the hearing test appointment, I tried to have my ENT appointment, but the ENT doctor had cancelled on me. Overnight he decided that he didn't want to see me, and that was it. And my problems with ENT go further than that, because I'll explain as the story goes on, but it gets worse. So I finished up with that. I got told, go home, we'll get in touch with you in a few days, take your steroids, finish your steroids, and we'll go from there. So I go home, carry on my steroids, doing what I need to do. No change in my hearing, and still we're waiting on results. So a week goes by, finish the steroids. No word from the doctor, but the hospital, but I expected a letter or a phone, or for my wife to receive a phone call. Kept an eye on my phone to make sure that nobody had phoned. I wouldn't have been able to take a call anyway, but we'd be able to do something with that. We could make a call back if my wife could hear, if a message was left on the phone. But nothing happened. So, get in touch with the GP, find out what's going on. And the GP says, well, we haven't had the results. We know you've been for your appointment, but we don't have results for you. Maybe try getting in touch with the audiology department. So I did do that. And when I arrived at the audiology department, there was nobody there. There were plenty of patients and people visiting, but it seemed that there were no staff, no one at reception. For me, this is already difficult because I don't know how I'm meant to speak to people and ask them for information because I can't receive the information myself. And eventually we find what I think was a patient flow manager working at the hospital, and she helped us out. My wife came in and she spoke to him, and this patient flow manager went and found out what was going on with my results, and we got told that the hospital didn't have any results for me. It seemed that they weren't even aware that I had come to the hospital at all for the hearing test that they booked. So they said, contact your GP again, see what they say. So I had to contact my GP, who said, well, we sent you for the hearing test. We don't have the results, and we don't know why they haven't recorded any results. So we're back to the start again. So it's probably about 2.5, 3 weeks had passed by this point. Hadn't heard a thing in that time. I mean, I hadn't heard a thing. Not that I hadn't heard from medical professionals. I just hadn't heard anything in that time. And a new appointment was made for a second hearing test. This time it would be with ENT in YCR. What's YCR? Ysbyty Cymru. And I see a ENT doctor by the name of Dr. Passanaro. Major problems with this man. He is not a good doctor, and I'm quite happy saying that on the internet because it's true. If I had there's literally no reason to lie about this man. He's a terrible doctor. So I turn up for my appointment, sit down. My wife came with me at least. It could have gone much worse if she hadn't, because this doctor refused to take his mask off to allow me to lip read. I was using an app at the time. I think it was Dragon Dictate I was using to speech to text. He wouldn't let me have my phone out in the appointment. I'm not sure what the reason is. And he ignored me throughout the entire thing. He spoke entirely to my wife, with her telling me what was being said. And then I went for another hearing test. This was my third hearing test by this point. Every one of them shows up with nothing. Narrow. My microphone appears to have gone off. I'm not sure if I got sound here. So I see Passanaro, and he tells me he's going to refer me to Audiology for further tests because they were inconclusive. Unfortunately, he didn't do that. He sent me home and then didn't make the appointment that he should have been making. So I got told it would be a bit of a wait, maybe a 2-3 month wait. We came up to Christmas at the time, so I assumed things would be slower. Come January, still no word from the hospital. So I decided to get in touch with... Oh, I do apologise. I needed to send a form off which showed medical records. So I asked my GP for the details of everything that had gone on since I'd become deaf. And in that letter, in that bundle of notes, there was a letter describing how he had decided to refer me as a routine appointment, despite the fact that sudden deafness is considered a medical emergency and should be treated quickly, immediately, is how I've read it, because it's potentially there's a potentially life-threatening cause. So there was a name of a secretary for an audiologist on that letter. So I emailed that audiologist, and within 2 hours I had a reply from the secretary and a phone call from the audiologist asking me to come in a few days' time for a test. I mean, 7 months had gone on between seeing Passanaru and this audiology result. So I turned up for my test, hearing test was done, and the results say that it's unlikely that my hearing is lost due to a physical issue in my ears. Probably more likely something higher up, a nerve gone. But there are other things such as strokes that can cause deafness like this. It's called sudden sensorineural hearing loss. SSHL, I think, was the term. And the description describes a vascular problem in your brain. But when I read it, it came across to me more like a stroke than just it's a vascular problem. I got told at my audiology appointment, it seems unlikely that you're going to get your hearing back through hearing aids, but still, we've got to go forward with things, and I get referred back to Dr. Passanaru. Now, at this point, I'd been deaf for sort of 8-9 months, and I'm pretty fed up with it by then. I'm fed up with being treated badly by people by that point. And I knew before I went in that this doctor was going to do what he did last time. He would not allow me to lip read. He would not allow me to use a phone. He wouldn't write things down. He would ignore me. And I sat down. The very first thing he does is start speaking to me with a mask on. So, I say to him, look, I can't hear you. You need to take your mask off so I can lip read. And honest to God, he pulls his mask down and says, can you hear me now? He simply has to read the medical notes. I can't hear. That is the problem here. I'm not going to him because I can hear. I'm going to him because I can't hear. This is the problem. So he takes that as a personal attack and decides that he's not going to deal with me. He's going to talk to my wife. To which I tell him, no, I want to be part of my care. I want to know what's going on with me. I'm not here for her. I'm not here for him. I'm here for me. And he decides that the only reason he was contacting me was to tell me that the tests show structurally my ears have moderate to severe hearing loss. So, in his opinion, I can hear, and that's it. And that he had been in touch with the Department of Work and Pensions, and that was his, his takeaway from it, is that there's severe to moderate hearing loss, and otherwise, I can hear. In terms of plans going forward, he had nothing. He's a very aggressive man. If you say anything that is contrary to his style of not speaking to his patient, he'll take it quite badly. So I asked, do I need maybe an MRI, CT? MRI would be my choice of what needs to be done. And he tells me, oh yeah, that might be a good idea. So 9 months later, you think it might be a good idea to MRI my head when something has quite clearly happened inside there that could potentially kill someone. He also told me that I shouldn't be telling him his job for suggesting an MRI. And from there, he basically kicked me out of his office. He didn't want to play. He didn't care, and he said he would make another hearing appointment for hearing aids, which he did do. Thankfully, he did do. But I do feel that Audiology were more involved in that than he was, and I went to that appointment, even though Audiology had told me sort of 2 months prior, you're probably not going to hear anything via hearing aids. They did the test and there was nothing there. And, we did a couple of extra tests and it was decided that a cochlear implant probably isn't going to do anything for me either. So I've been referred to a different audiology department that can do more in-depth tests, probably neurological tests. But as it stands, Rao Pasanaru is not at all bothered with the care. In his opinion, he says I can hear, and that's just how it is. I have to accept his diagnosis despite the fact that I can't hear. I have to go on blind faith with the man and just pretend that I can hear. So right now things are up in the air. I got told a cochlear implant probably isn't going to work for me. I did feel like that was very much my last option of getting my hearing back. I don't know if there are other things. If there's something neurological that can be fixed surgically, maybe. But that's how it is. So in the meantime, I'm still waiting to hear for a CT or MRI. Likely will be an MRI. And I'm in a bit of a war now with the ENT department because they just don't seem to understand how patients feel. That's unfair. There have been many issues with our ENT department. They don't seem to have any communication skills at all. But it is a single doctor there, which is really bringing him down, really giving him a bad name. And I'm happy to name him. His name is Rao Pasanaru. I've made an official complaint to the NHS about it, to the trust. And, if it was untrue, it would be slander. But it's true. I got no problem saying it. So we'll see where we go from there. Hopefully there will be something. Being moved on to a different hospital, down to Cardiff with more advanced machines. that's probably a good thing, and we'll see where we go from there. So I did promise I would teach some sign while we're there. So today I'm going to teach help you or help me. So for help, and you push away for help you, or towards for help me. Since I need help right now, that is an appropriate one to use. So thank you for watching. I'll do something a bit more fun next time. I'm trying to work out how to get my PlayStation to run through my PC. I can get the PlayStation running through with the PlayStation app. Getting a controller to work, it seems to be a problem. So, but I will try to do something a bit more fun now from here on in. Maybe play some Magic with people over Spell Table if anyone's interested. And I'll see you next time.